Welcome back, everybody. This is Grace, and today we're going to be doing some very simple kills of the Bun Banneret. Now, Bun Banneret is a void boss, and I would say it's one of the harder void bosses. It's got some strong mechanics, it's got some mechanics that require specific gear. Definitely not a challenge once you're all set up and you have a strategy ready to go, but for new players or players who maybe aren't the most set up in their gear yet, or for players who don't know quite how the mechanics work, it can be pretty tricky. So with that being said, let's talk about those mechanics. So, I'm just going to read her mechanics. Bun Banneret has about 9,000 HP, about a 450 to 500 damage cap with 0.25 clawback. She has freedom and boss boost plus 30. She also has several phases, which I'll go into detail on, but in essence, every time she reaches a hard cap of her HP, she will do a super nuke attack, and then if you stun her to survive, she will move on to her next phase where she gets a buff. Sounds a bit much, but we'll go into basically every time you get her to a certain HP threshold, 20% of her HP roughly, she will stop everything, stop taking damage, and charge up for one turn. And if you don't stun her that turn, she will the next turn hit you for like a million damage, like literally hundreds of thousands. She hits you like 12 times for 32k. So you have to stun her, so you need stun gear, and we'll talk about that. Once you do stun her, she moves on to the next phase. Phase 1 is just a one-turn wind attack. Phase 2, you'll see a pop-up, your opponent is all warmed up, and she gains permanent celerity, so 2 sets of attacks. Phase 3, you'll get the opponent, your foe is all fired up, she loses her celerity, but she has a random element attack, fire and light and wind. 25% for fire and light, 50% for wind. So if you get lucky, she'll just hit with wind and you'll be fine. If she swaps elements, she'll do a ton of damage. Phase 4, the pop-up is, your opponent strikes with blazing speed. She gains permanent celerity now, so multi-element, permanent celerity, lots of damage. And the 5th phase, your opponent goes all out. She also gets 1.5x Ellium power, so does 1.5x damage on top of that. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to nuke through each phase. And what I've got here is Wildflower Bouquet. I'm just using that because it's a very standard earth weapon and it can easily toggle melee, ranged, and magic, which I'm going to be doing later. I gotta untoggle this shield somehow. Oh! Gotta untoggle the shield somehow. Let's pretend nothing else happened. Anyways, so it's just my standard earth weapon. You could get it from Yolker, not this weapon, but you could get a earth weapon, depending on your build, from any old shop. We're going to be using Cyclops Eye. This is a standard defensive misc. And we're going to be using Fairy Godmother. Cyclops Eye defends against what elements you were last hit with, so for just the wind phase, it's going to work very well. What I'm going to do is just slowly take her down. And I didn't enter the battle on full SP, and I wasted 400 SP, so might run into a little bit of trouble there. But you'll see that I have a very specific plan for how I'm going to stun Bun Banneret and then nuke her on the next turn. You'll also notice I only have 250 strength, and that's what I'm going to try to do for the intellect showcase as well. And that's because I want this to be as easy as possible for people to mimic. No extra required gear or stats, you can just play with whatever build you have, no matter what your build is, and you'll hopefully be just fine. So we're getting to about the point where I expect her phase will transition. Now she prepares a massive stun attack, stun her, disrupt it. So what we're going to be doing is using Myrmidon Champion. Right now she has 30 immobility weakness, so we already have a 30 advantage to our save roll. And Myrmidon Champion built-in already has a -10 save, so that means we have a 40 advantage. The save roll goes off of your main stat from your weapon held, so what we're going to do is boost our main stat with Chieftain's Iron Thorn. So now we have 300 main stat. The way save rolls work, we're going main stat versus endurance, so we have a +15 advantage. All in all, that'll give us a, let's see, 30 plus 10 plus 15. Took me way too long to do that, but a 55 advantage, and you only need a 50 to guarantee the save, so we're good to go. I'm also going to use Ring of Precision, 1 to save a little bit of SP, but 2 to make sure my attacks hit. because if one of them misses, we might not be okay. So now my foe is drowning, and what I'm going to do is I was going to use H series, but I took High Oracle Taladosian Robes out of my inventory instead, so I'm just going to pause the video and get back to this point. Also, I'm just going to fill up my SP bar, because you should be filling up your SP bar before you fight a challenging boss. So I will see you in about 2 seconds with H series instead of High Taladosian Robes. Okay, so we're back at the stun phase. Again, I'm going to go to Myrmidon, use a Strength Drive Shield to make sure my save roll is guaranteed, and use Ring of Precision to make sure I don't miss. Deadly Catch. There we go. The dragon is frozen, and this will work every time. So, no need to worry about it. Now we go back to our defensive test armor, and you can nuke an H series here, but I'm gonna actually save that. Oh no. Let's actually show how it works. So with H series, you're gonna want to get on all your boosting gear. What I'm doing here is, that's the wrong misc. Hog Shard, excuse me. This gives me 40 strength, Chieftain's Ironthorn gives me 50 strength, and I'm going to use a normal damaging weapon that pretty much everyone can have, Uragiri. You might have something better than this, totally good if you do. But I feel like this is the bare minimum for what people will have. And I'm also going to use the Angrelin Pet for my melee and ranged showcase. Now here's where I'm going to skip a step. If you're a ranger, you're going to do the exact same thing, except instead of clicking attack, which is melee locked, when you use the overdrive mode, which greatly increases your damage and locks it to energy, you're going to use the Missile Barrage, which is a weapon-based skill that does ranged lock damage. So for warriors, you'll just use the overdrive and basic attack. For rangers, you'll use the Missile Barrage. Now I think that's it. I think I'm good to go. So since I'm a warrior, I'm going to basic attack. Oh, and for rangers, I recommend Ranger Scope as your basic damage boosting misc, but whatever dex boost or whatever you want. And then also a dex shield, so that's what I'd be using if I were a ranger, but I'm not. Anyways, back to the Hog Shard. We already toggled on the overdrive. Let's just double check. Okay, overdrive activated, and we're going to attack twice. So let's see, we did about, I'm going to check the battle log. About 1200 damage? I don't know. But there we had to do, let's see exactly how much damage we did. We did, oh, you know what? It actually doesn't. Hold on, I'm gonna do this calculator so that I don't get the numbers wrong and misinform people. Okay, so we did exactly, and I just cleared it on my calculator. It was like 1850 or like 1950, I forget. But so we got Bun Banneret to the next phase with about 1900 damage. That's about as much damage as you need. We overkilled it by 450. You can see that because Bun Banneret heals 464. That's what'll happen when you get to the damage phase. Bun Banneret will just instantly heal the damage back because you can't punch through it. So with that being said, we do the exact same thing. Myrmidon Champion, Fairy Godmother for a little bit more HP. We already have the Strength Drive Shield, Ranger's Scope, any basic earth weapon, doesn't have to be Uragiri, even though that does give accuracy, but it's spell type, so it wouldn't matter. That is, I want Ring of Precision, not Ranger's Scope, and we'll use Deadly Catch. So this is the cycle we're going to repeat until the end of the kill. We're going to get a little low on SP, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Essence Orb 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm just going to do that every turn now, because we're going to run out of SP if I don't. My overdrive is on, go back to my Hog Shard and Angrelin for that little bit of extra damage boost. 10%, that's not nothing. And we'll attack twice. Okay, so again, we overcapped by 550 damage that time, because it healed 559 HP back, so we were good to go. Myrmidon Champion, Ring of Precision, actually, well, Essence Orb, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ring of Precision, Fairy Godmother, and back to a normal weapon. Well, it doesn't matter, but... and Deadly Catch. So now we'll go to H series. We already used Essence Orb, so I won't use it this turn. Giri, and we're good to go. And again, we overkilled it by 480 damage. I'll be honest, I left the recording and then came back, so I've got no clue what I was talking about. But we're going to click Essence Orb 4 times, go back to Myrmidon, use a normal weapon and Ring of Precision, Fairy Godmother for our HP. You might be asking yourself as I set this up, why are you only clicking Essence Orb 4 times? Well, I'm kind of trying to future-proof myself a little bit. And that is because Essence Orb might one day get nerfed. So the expectation is you'll be able to get about 4 clicks worth of SP. So that's what I'm doing. But in general, right now you can click it as much as you want, as you can see. But in general, if Essence Orb is nerfed, as you're doing this method, just make sure as often as you can you're topping up your SP every turn. Use it to its maximum, as long as you need to have your SP as high as you can. So with that being said, I'm actually going to not kill the Bun Banneret here. You can see all I have to do is attack twice, and I will kill it. I'll actually attack once. Let's do that. So we'll attack once, and the reason I'm not going to kill it is because I want you to see what happens when you use a normal armor against its third phase, and this is why we are nuking through each phase to avoid the phases. Let's see, how will I stall a turn? I think I'll just drink a mana potion. So let's see how much damage I take from Bun Banneret in its super phase. So we take 1800 light damage. It didn't hit me with fire, and the celerity didn't even go off because I was already dead. So you're going to be taking potentially 3000 damage if you're in the second phase and unprotected with Ellie shields or anything. So that is why our method is to simply nuke through each phase. I hope that makes sense. So we don't want to get one shot, so we just nuke through so that it's always stunned. Or charging its stun. Charging its super nuke. Anyways. That's the nuking method for warriors and rangers. Again, rangers, you'll just use the rocket missiles attack, which does about the same damage. Rangers, it's a little tricky because of the BTH lean ramping, but you'll probably be fine. Don't worry about it. If it does go wrong, comment on my video and say something mean, because I was being lazy and didn't test it. Anyways, we're going to go over the mage setup now, so I'm going to leave, reset my stats, and then start the fight again. Alright, so quick interruption before the mage method. Two things. One, well, a couple things. If you are worried about accuracy on either the ranger method because of your BTH lane ramping, I recommend using the Robina Ally Assist twice at the beginning of the fight. That should keep you pretty covered. Second, there are two mistakes with the mage method I'm about to show. One is that I was actually missing 8 accuracy to have guaranteed hits, and the second is that in the first phase, I actually could have nuked through with the spell because you have enough mana to do it. There are 4 phases with a stun threshold, and you have 4 spell casts in your mana bar. So don't try to tank the second phase like I did, just nuke through it in the same method I use for the other 3 phases. But that being said, you're missing 9 accuracy or 8 accuracy per auto hit with that exact setup. Using Trap Surge, because Trap Surge has a -10 BTH lane. If you want to use the exact same setup, what I recommend is, like the Ranger method, just use the Robina Ally Assist one time at the beginning of the battle, which, as you'll see, lowers the MRM, or the defense, by 9. There are other things you could do. You could use that one energy alien pet, Core Dem, which lowers magic resistance. You could use Nerf Kitten, which lowers magic defense. But that's what I recommend, using Robina Ally Assist once, and then you'll have auto hit with my setup, as long as you have 400 int. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're a mage or ranger, use Robina's Ally Assist once or twice, and should be good to go. If you're a mage, just use a spell for every phase. Alright, now into the mage method, and just keep in mind those things I corrected, because the live recording, obviously I didn't know that at the time. Okay, and we're back. This time with intellect instead of strength or dexterity. The kill's going to start off the very same way. I'm going to use the defensive test armor, which is just an FD wind armor and a random wind shield. Just has to give you -26 resistance. Doesn't really matter what else. And I'm going to unequip my shield so I don't accidentally give myself a dex boost. Click the bouquet to swap to magic damage. There we go. magic damage. Easy as that. Cyclops Eye for defense. Classic Fairy Godmother for some passive boost. Oh, and don't forget my windshield. And so we're just going to attack through the phase. Now, this time, we're actually going to attack through the second phase as well. Because it's still locked to wind damage, you can manage the incoming damage pretty okay. The reason we're doing that is because the MP bar lets you cast 4 spells before you run out of mana, or standard spells at least. And so we can only nuke through 4 phases without spamming a bunch of resource looping, which is difficult, complicated, and honestly, just not worth the hassle. So I'm going to ignore it, and we're just going to do it 4 times instead of 5. So with that being said, this kill should be pretty relaxed. I am going to mute until we get to the first phase. Alright, so here we are, and we're actually going to use the exact same method to inflict stun. Except we're going to use Celtic Wheel, of course, as an intellect drive instead of a strength drive. And we actually are just going to do exactly that. So we're going to use Deadly Predator, or Deadly Catch, excuse me. And we're not going to nuke through this phase because it's still attacking with wind, which means we can still defend against it. Fujin no Shifuku and Cyclops Eye. I think we should be good here. We're going to take a lot of damage, and we might actually end up taking a little too much damage. So let's see. Realistically, you should bring an energy weapon just to attack with there. I could have used Dr. Boom Shard actually, but that would have been more mana cost, so didn't want that. But I think it is going to get pretty close with how low my HP gets here. Because of the celerity turns, it's going to be doing twice as much damage. So I might get pretty low here. I might have to drink a potion, but really shouldn't be too complicated. So yeah, I'm gonna keep the audio on here because I have to decide when I'm gonna drink a potion, if I'm going to. We're also doing peanuts damage, but that's just how it is with magic weapons on FD armors. You could use a wand to get rid of some of this. Geocastellum wand would actually work great because 6 hits, although not like you're hitting the damage cap here. So we are getting pretty low, you're going to notice. And what I'm actually going to do in a second is switch to the Necromancer armor. Because the Necromancer armor gives you a once per battle barrier. So now we have a 748 HP barrier. That should buy us 1 or 2 more turns. I think we'll be okay. Might not be, might still have to drink a potion, but should be good. Yeah, the 0 damage is because it's punching through the barrier. I took about 350 damage that turn, but it came out of the barrier instead of my HP bar. And now we have 70 damage left. So again, about 350 damage out of the barrier. We'll go with 1 more attack. This might get it to the next phase. Looks close as hell. Alright, but I can't risk another turn, so I'm going to drink an HP potion. I think it's very close. I should have done numbers to see like exactly how close, to be honest, but not really a big deal. And you will have either Charisma, Luck, Endurance, or you'll have something else on your stat bar, which will let you not take as much damage as me or heal more than me. But with that being said, we got everything we need. We're now to the phase where we're just going to nuke through every phase. And we're going to bring up Precision here and Deadly Catch. Alright, great. Now, our nuking strategy for energy is going to be using Trumpha Surge. This is an energy spell with 5 hits, so we won't get ruined by the damage cap, hopefully. And we're going to be using a simple intellect drive. You could use any int drive, Misk. I'm using Bog Shard. Important thing for Necromancer, we have the int drive toggled on, we have the anim attunement set to Spellcaster, and we have mana amplification on, which gives us 10% spell damage. Now we're going to cast Truff Surge, and if my testing is correct, we should be a-okay to nuke through this phase. That spell is kind of a flashbang. I will put an epilepsy warning in the chat. But let's look and see how much. We actually overkilled it by 600 damage, 80 plus 520, so we're way in the green. Now move to the next phase. So we go back to Ring of Precision, because that gives us more accuracy and it's 0 upkeep. Deadly Catch. Drag your foe into the water and leave them drowning. I'm going to use Essence Orb here. I'm going to use 2 clicks. Don't know if we'll need it, but seems like it'll be handy to have. Spellslinger's Obsidian Cloak. You have the Int Drive Shield, Int Boost Misk. Just checking to make sure I've got it all. Yeah, should be good. Right? Yes. Let's see how much damage we were over there. We were only 400 damage over there, but it's a pretty good margin. And we will go back to Myrmidon, and you know what? I actually counted wrong. We could have nuked the first phase, because we have more than one. Let me slow down. I didn't nuke the first phase, because I thought I would run out of mana. But if you look, I have enough mana for 2 spellcasts left, and I only need 1 with Spellslinger's Obsidian. So that was because I thought, oh, there's 5 phases, I need 5 spellcasts. But no, there's 5 phases. We start in the first one, and then there's 4 blocks. So we didn't actually need 5 spellcasts, so I saved myself I added some trouble to myself. You can just nuke through every phase on your mage, and again, I will probably put a text message or a voiceover saying you don't actually have to tank through the first phase. But with that being said, 395 intellect, that's what I need. And your hitting should be guaranteed here. Or your miss chance is like really low. Let's see, I'll calc that out really quick just now. My calculation said there's like a 5% miss chance. For each hit. You're probably fine. I mean, what could go wrong, you know? But anyways, you shouldn't fail this more than once or twice in a row. So that is the mage method, and that's the warrior ranger method. So 2 very simple methods. They use pretty basic gear. Doesn't have to be Truff Surge. You could also use Mega Giga Hypershock, which is in the Guardian Tower, very easy to get. Yeah, that should be it. Thanks for watching. I hope this is helpful and useful. And let me know if you have any questions or need any help getting through this boss, even with this method. Have a great day, spread some peace and love.